who are already product managers or in the field already, like a couple of years? Perfect. Mostly in Toronto or like?
Mississauga counts?
Mississauga, yeah, sure. Of course, of course. And who here is like wanting to be a product manager as well? Perfect. Okay. All right. So I'm really excited to kind of relay my experience here and what I think product management is nowadays, especially with AI. Now, since a lot of people here are in product, I don't know if you feel the same way, but every product manager in different companies it's not really a one-stop thing. Like if you go to one company, a software developer might change, a tool like, yeah, I'm doing JavaScript here, but like it's mainly React here. Like that would be the difference. But I would say as a product manager, that's not entirely true. As a product manager, there might be times where in your company, like for Meta, for example, you are just for one feature, there is you are in a team, and this is the feature that you're looking at, and you're looking at the customer feedback. But in others, like smaller or early stage startups, you are everyone. You're everything and everyone, and you have 8 hats altogether. So actually, before that, like I kind of want to know, for product managers here, are you feeling like you're more of like one stream only, like one feature, I'm really just responsible for one feature, or I have so many hats that I have to fill out? Which one?
Too many hats.
Second, like, thank you. So I felt like I was crazy, but that's usually the case for a lot of product managers. There's too many hats, and in different companies, some hats are bigger than others. So user research and roadmap strategy, that's what, the definition or dictionary form of product manager, but sprint planning and QA and getting a product owner role, that's probably going to be a lot of your problem too. So I just wanted to emphasize the PM is defined in different companies, so you will think about Cursor, so AI, using AI now is just, is to kind of help you within these different hats, right? And that's what I'm trying to talk about later today. But at the end of the day, I think what we really want to say is your job is to ship whatever it is. And not just to ship whatever, but ship something that moves those numbers, whatever. The KPIs, OKR, the North Star, whatever you want to call it, you're going to ship whatever feature it is that moves the goalpost for that business to get to the next level or next milestone. That is what I've done in many startups, in many companies to get those investments, to get $3 million or $5 million in 2 years, or like in 1 year, and justifying that, or in like my own fractional product management role. It's like you gotta just ship something to get to their next level. And now, but right now, there's this sort of like mentality of like, how do we work with AI as product managers? Is it that I think about it and then I tell AI to execute, or AI just tells me what to do and then AI execute, which I think I would put as doomsday scenario, because I think that's what most people are afraid of and could make them irrelevant, is that, hey, I'm like the doomsday scenario is just like, people don't need product managers anymore. Thousands of people are getting laid off nowadays because a lot of companies seem to overemphasize AI's skills. But I can tell you right now, that's not really the case. There's still so much more limitations, especially once you really dig deeper into whatever vibe coding or product or AI agent you want to use. I'm using Cursor today, but for example, I also am very, very keen on Claude, for example. But even with those, it's still limited. Other ways is AI bring the strategy and you execute. I feel like this is mostly for junior, I would say, junior product, because I think a lot of people who lack experience in the field, you might want to get it'd be better if it's someone else, like an actual person, but you might not have that. And so AI can give you some sort of guardrails or other perspectives as to how you can bring the strategy and what you can do in your everyday field. And of course, what we've always done is you bring the strategy and you execute. Unfortunately, or fortunately, that's not really the case anymore. And I think this is, especially for those who have used these, like your job as your identity, this is the biggest kind of trap I would say most people fall into, especially for the senior ones and the director ones, where I'm like, you're the go-to person, you're kind of, people go to you, and no one can do anything without you, and that has happened many times as a product manager. But unfortunately, nowadays, a lot of companies, I've heard of some developers who have been laid off because they refuse to use AI. And that is unfortunately the case because a lot of employers just think that even though they're even the most talented in their company nowadays, they're being laid off because they're not using AI because the company thinks, well, you could be more productive if you use AI. And so these are sort of these 4 situations that I think are how you can kind of use AI as a high level. But only really, I think option 1 is what's gonna get you promoted here. What's gonna get you to the next level. And that is for you to bring that strategy, to bring your experience, to bring what you know, and not only that, but to bring that human creativity that AI still lacks into your vision, into your strategy, and putting that into prompts, and using AI to execute whatever you need to do. And you become this director. So basically, the shift is, you kind of have to think about it as like, now you have many agents, and now you have many employees doing all the work for you. So more employees shipping towards your vision. And then that means that there's more reason for them to promote you. I mean, like I mentioned earlier, you need to ship features in order to get to the next level. In order to do that, you have to unfortunately, get more execute out there. And there's many ways to do that, but this is one of those ways. So I mentioned earlier that we all have different perspectives as to what different companies have different product management, different expectations of what a product management is and what a product manager is supposed to do in their company. There could be so actually a better way for me to show this is I will show you this part. So this is something I've created maybe 5 or 6 years ago when I was working for this startup in the UK. It's a marketplace startup. And it was coming from a big company, it was the smallest with a team of 5. With outsourced, or maybe a team of 15. And the whole point of this is to show you how each of these is considerably a team in itself. In a company, this information processing is, for example, we have an admin dashboard. We would extract that data, clean that, analyze what it is, create these reports out of it, and create a deck. But in order to make that deck more comprehensive, you also create those user personas, add those touch points, create those user journey maps. and talk with the marketing and community. And this is very specific to growth because our main goal was to grow our users. And we did and we actually did for 2020. That was a really intense time because it was a commercial real estate. And we were able to grow to 500 users, even with COVID. That was that was one of the hardest things because it's a marketplace. And add community touch points. So what I'm trying to show you is this one thing is just an ability for this is one team. Hell, this could be a department in a bigger company. And of course, you create that, you talk to a strategy, talk to this strategy. But what I wanted to show you is each of these are like departments, but I wanted to show you that each of those boxes here, it's my responsibility. And I've done each of this before AI, before anything else, because the whole point of a startup is you gotta get going. You gotta get to the next level. It doesn't matter what you need to do. If you don't know what it is, you learn it on the job. And so I wanted to show this to you because right now, depending on where you are, and that's why I was asking, like, are you in a bigger company, in a smaller company? Chances are you're probably leaning towards one of these boxes. Maybe you're more in the data side, so you're in this section here. You think about the customer feedback, you think about how to execute that, how to analyze it, and go to your directors and provide, like have these brainstorming sessions and be like, what are the features and behaviors that we've learned so far? What's working to get us those users, what's not working, and what are the priorities we need, and what are the features that we should be doing. And that is what I would consider more strategy side, the vision side. This is more the left side of this product management. And I think it is the most fun, but it's also, and it's the one that you would normally learn in like BrainStation, for example, but it's not really the reality all the time because this is just one part of it. The second part is how do you actually execute that? And executing, so we know the features now, how to execute that. We need like an idea how to create a PRD. We need to create designs for it. We need to create definitions of done. You work with the head of engineering for that one maybe. But either way, some of you might lean into product ownership role. And you have to understand, well, is it actually realistic for me to ship all these features in this quarter? Because as much as, even if you are only in this data analyst or strategy side, I don't know any PM who doesn't need to know the sprint, who doesn't need to know what is going to be shipped, because that is probably one of the biggest needs that you need, like one of the biggest information whether you'll be successful or not for that specific sprint or even for that specific quarter. Okay, so that's kind of what this is about. Like, depending on what you need, the way you would use AI here is actually use it, basically finding how to automate or even provide you the proper information in each one of the departments that you need to lean into. I specifically for this cursor workshop, I looked into the strategy and tactic, but really it's the information side where it's just like, okay, how can we get feedback? And the second one, like I mentioned, is the product ownership side, meaning personally for me, how do I make sure that my engineers are telling me the truth? And even if they are in their right hearts telling me the truth, they might not know something. And how might I be able to learn that in the beginning so that I know what to do in the end? Okay, so there's a couple of things to do here. Cursor is a very huge tool. I was able to use this to actually build an MVP to prepare for a beta test, for example, and that was one of the things in the client. But as a product manager, you'll be able to do that maybe if you're an early stage startup or if you're working with marketing and you need some sort of like, instead of getting a high fidelity prototype, you just create a high fidelity prototype through Cursor. However, I find that those are very distinct jobs, but the ones that I think product managers would use Cursor for, or just AI in general, is the boring stuff, or what I would consider boring stuff, which is, you ingest those feedbacks, you analyze the themes of what's happening, and you cross-check sprints. Like I mentioned, you use AI to execute. They are not your brain. You are still the strategist, you are still the visionary, and you still have the experience to know the right decisions, even though it doesn't seem like that sometimes. Okay, so because I came in, but technically you are able to pull this if you like to try and come and use it with me. But the way I would do it is this case, my first case here. So we have different sources of feedback. You probably have it from your sales team, from your customer department, from your sales department, and even if you have direct users or direct clients that you can talk to, there are many ways to get feedback from your customers. It could come from Slack, it could come from Intercom, it could come from Zendesk and Sales Note. The way to do that is you want to aggregate it. You can aggregate it using Zapier. You can also aggregate it using, I think Cursor has a couple of marketplaces. So it depends on your company policies as well. This is also the reason that if you have teams, it might not be compatible. But I find even though Zapier is probably the safest way to do it right now because it integrates with everything, but maybe in next month, there's a marketplace in Cursor that allows teams, for example. But what we do is we aggregate that into a feedback CSV. The problem is once you export these things, they're really, really unclean. And so you want to create a way to clean that. And you can use Cursor for that. But in this example, I'm sorry, it's already clean. But you can just create CSV and create an agent that would make sure that the CSV is in their proper columns. And you can do that as CSV, and you can do that every month. And then one thing I do enjoy, and you can do this, is you configure a rule. Like, what does analyze feedback mean? So if you just say analyze feedback to a chat, it actually goes back to the memory and the rule, and they would output this roadmap with it. So I could show you what I mean, so it's a lot easier. So this is a CSV. It is ugly, it is hard to see, and it could be a lot better. However, this is a great way for you to get feedback from customers. Now, you can see, so this part here is what I would consider kind of like notes or memory, where you put whatever you want the agent to do when you say a certain word. So for example, I say analyze feedback, and it would always read this sort of feedback CSV right here. And it would provide a couple of macro themes and scores for you to do. So we can do that here. It's feedback. And with that, you would always get a theme. If there's like 250 feedback here, you get a theme and you get a sentiment analysis of it, most common pain point, and roadmap recommendations. This is sort of a way for you to have, so for this is kind of like the themes that you want to know. If you want to constantly make sure that you're in the right direction for your KPI or your OKR, this is the way to do that. And let me see. So for this example, this would be here. You would be coming for these information processing and strategy at the same time. Now, a second one here would be, now that would be like the first case study. It's easy enough. There's messy rows. There's unstructured, and you just clean it, and you always get a theme. And that is enough for you to be on top of this side here. You can automate it a bit more, but for the most part, you saw how that was pretty easy enough to do. The second one here, oh yeah, and then analyze the feedback and all those things. But what I really want to also emphasize is, because this might be the one that I really struggle, and most likely most people will struggle always, is the sprint. How many times has, like for those who are here in product management, how many times have you been given an estimate of, like, let's say you have a velocity of 75 points and you say these tickets are 70 points, so it should technically be under 2 weeks or whatever. How many times have you had the feeling and it never happened? Actually, like, huh? Multiple. How actually a good question is, how many times has it been 100% correct for everyone? Like, because it's never been for me. Like, it's never, huh? Never been, right? It's so hard. It's so difficult. I will say this much. It is probably one of the most annoying things. And you gotta just learn each of your developer, and you have a relationship with them, and you just know which one's gonna work and which one isn't. And it's stressful, I can imagine. But that's why this was my favorite case. My first case study was just like, yeah, that's fine, like feedback. And I'm not saying it's not important, it is very important. But personally, my favorite is, how can you figure out whether the sprint's gonna be risky, even though you're doing your scrums every day, 10 minutes, they're like, oh, I'm doing well, it's okay. But how can you actually maybe have someone who can oversee that, especially if you're not technical? Especially, even if you are technical, and you have no time to look at people's code. And that is that is one of the things I really enjoy. Is there something new that I think you could really use your AI agent for? So right now, I'm using Linear, because Linear is probably the easiest one, but I'm assuming a lot of people are using Jira, but it's same sort of, very similar. So this is an example, for this place. This is a demo of tickets for Linear, for your sprint. Let's say you have this, these are the to-dos and such. And so what I would do is, over here, So first off, you need your developer and your company to either have a way for your AI to have a read-only rule. So it cannot be you don't want to write any code, but a way for them to give you access to whatever repository is probably the safest for you to play, but also still reflective of what they're doing. So I want to say that would be test, not so much dev. And I would say that over here, as long as it's on this side, in these folders, you could also, what you could do is, so basically now that, assuming you have all the code that you needed on this side of the note, you can also go to the marketplace on Cursor and find, like Asana's here, GitHub, and I've put linear, for example. And, oh, goodness. So linear is one I have. See, my problem, Atlassian I think might be, but I haven't tried it with Jira yet. So I'm pretty sure that I've authenticated it. Okay. So basically I've just tried it, but you can also have a prompt. So you can see that it looked at your linear, it looked at over here, your linear, what I would say, all the tickets in your linear, and it basically provided a sort of evaluation on whether what's working and what's not. So a better way to do it, well, I can use this as well, but so basically for this prompts, I just use Cursor as well to like figure out how to actually. But you can kind of see that there's 7 issues, which there are over here as well, 7 issues. But one thing I wanted to provide you is that, hey, for this issue here, there's only one story point. That is, you would think once, I know all the devs are just like, oh, but it's not about days, it's not about time, but one story point is usually less than a day. Maybe 2 if you're forgiving and such. However, you kind of see here that Cursor was able to look at that exact file, and there's 1,900 lines. There's no way a 1,900 line code, it's minimum 500 is actually the clean code principle, by the way. If there's a 1,900 line code, there's probably going to be a problem. And if your developer is saying that there's not, or it's okay, I mean, that's good if you trust them, but I would be more than happy to have an interview or have another discussion with them to make sure and double check whether this is going to actually work for this sprint or not. Yeah?
I have a question. I mean, this is like, I don't know. I mean, in an ideal situation, you need to trust engineering. This is basically going way into engineering territory and saying, you're not estimating correctly or even hiding information from me, then I need, as a PM, need to analyze the code versus the Jira. I mean, so I'm trying to understand, like, how does it work in real life, where if I'm doing this, it means that my relationship with engineering is non-existent.
I wouldn't say that.
I don't know.
I wouldn't say that at all, actually. No. Because,
the team leader should come to me and say, or somebody from engineering should say, the story points doesn't match. I mean, this means that engineering doesn't have an accountability at all. I don't know.
It could be like something that they just misestimate, like they just didn't estimate properly.
Okay.
That's one of the, that happens so many times.
It happens, I know.
Like it's not even, it's for you to understand whether it's actually true or not.
I would sit with the engineer, but no, I understand.
No, it's not that you wouldn't, I would sit the engineer exactly about this, But the fact is, especially for those who are not technical PMs, they might not know what even is the reason.
Got it.
Like 1900 lines, do people really know what does that mean if you're not a technical PM? Like if, do people understand, like, if you're in product management and you're coming from a non-technical side, if you don't know the clean code principle or you don't know data architecture, would you be, like, it would be harder for you to understand,
But
like.
it works the other way. I mean, I'm very technical. I was a developer.
Yeah, yeah.
But when I sit with a UX designer, with marketing, obviously there are things. So, okay.
It's not about to criticize
this is
you.
actually attestation of their repo, which I don't know. Me as if I was an engineer, like no.
That's why, like, you need like a way to make sure that it's read only, and that is the biggest, like, asterisk about this, is you have to have a company that, or a setup, and a good relationship with the engineers to say that.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's like, oh, you don't trust me at all. That you need to go literally into my code and attestate it. You don't trust me. But I mean, that was why I was a little bit thrown off.
Oh, my assumption is you have a good relationship with your engineering team.
Okay.
Because I usually have a good assumption with, I have a great relationship with engineering teams, and a lot of the times they brainstorm with me and they tell me, well, if you do this infrastructure and this token doesn't work, and I'm like, I can only understand half the things you're saying.
Yeah. No, that's good.
If you can give me, or if AI can allow me to understand what you're saying, we would have reduced this hour into maybe 10 minutes of brainstorming. It is not, like, what I meant with this is that AI is still a tool. It's not a way for you to replace engineering, or especially this. I really love the fact that you brought this up, because it's not meant for you to use AI as, like, as kind of like something you hold over someone.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Exactly.
My impression was, oh, they're
how do
hiding
you present
something.
this, right? So instead of asking or questioning them, we would say, hey, is your estimate right? So it's all about how do we ask the question. Like, it's not about blaming, or it's not about saying that, yeah, 1,900 lines and then half a story point is that makes sense. So rather than that, I see this as a flag, so it's about how we present it.
Yeah, absolutely. We see this as a flag that is, hey, there's something interesting that I'm seeing. Can I have a chat with you? Or can you explain this to me, because I want to make sure this is correct? Because
this is what engineers, because I come from the technical
Yeah.
So it's like, if I want to, you ask me that, is that right? So then it's like, are you judging me, right? So that's the point that he's trying to make as well. So I would say, in a way, I'm seeing this, is that right in your radar, that this is of a right story point? So that could be the question, and we drop it at that level. So
Yeah. Are we still on time? Do you think that we're going to make it, the sprint, for this ticket? That would be something that's actually a great tip if that's coming from engineering. Don't look into it much. Hey, can I make sure that, are we still going to make it the sprint? If
we want the risks to be seen, and then the assumption is right. That's it.
Yeah, if that hurts. Yeah, hi.
There's some challenges with the engineering team when tools are so new to them, like implementing AI agents in the system. That for them it's even hard to estimate sometimes how long it will take them, because you need to research and you need to experiment and so on. So it's very fluid in the sense that they can give you a very rough estimation, and then you over time it becomes more accurate, right? It's very different from the time that engineers, it was very deterministic, and engineers knew exactly, or almost exactly, or up to 30% that there will be some implementations, but now it's really challenging in that sense.
It is. I mean, it's true, and then most engineers are also very stressed out of time. They, taking 5 hours to even estimate, or 4 hours to estimate, that's already a lot to them, and a lot of pressure. So we do assume that there's going to be an error, a margin of error here, which is why this is supposed to help us understand the sprint. And like I mentioned, not so much, create that problem with the engineering relationship and such, but this is a way for you to kind of be on top of things still. And I think that's kind of what is part of the product management role. Is there is, unfortunately, I don't know whether you feel this, but there's always going to be politics, like that you have to balance, and this is part of those balance. Practically, this is the things that we need to know. But like I'm so sorry I didn't get your name. Gopi and Arseni.
Yeah.
Those are the relationship aspect is still something we have to protect. And so it's always about trying to balance it out, but this is a tool for you. And this is a bit outside of Cursor, but like the whole point of this is just it's a tool for you to know. And AI can't tell you how to approach your developer. You have the relationship with your developer. It's about you knowing what you know and then executing and being a product manager with the experience and properly talking and figuring out how do we get to the next sprint, or do we drop certain tickets, or what is the priority we need? Do I need to reprioritize the tickets right now? That would be my suggestion for this one. And yeah, so like I mentioned, add some guardrails. There's ways to get set up with if your company allows it, set up with your dev, make sure that it's read-only, and have this sort of, and try this sort of way to ensure that you can use AI to give you a way to make sure that your product owner hat is working, really. And that's kind of it. That's all I have for today. I would like if there's any questions or anything. Yeah.
Just a question about working with enterprises, because I understand you have experience. How do you work around with all the security compliance, all this environment? I know it's a challenging question, but yeah.
That's actually the main reason I want to start up instead. But even with enterprises and startups, so is it enterprise in like early stage startup, or like the ones that need to get to the next seed or stuff, or is it an established company?
I can tell myself that we are a startup working with enterprise B2B, and obviously we have all the security compliance, so we are kind of obliged to keep the same compliance, right? So for example, we didn't enable cloud work because you don't know what will happen.
Yes.
All these tools are really fully integrated into the operation system. So how do you kind of managing in a very constrained environment that you have to keep the compliance working, but you also don't want to push yourself back, right?
Yeah, the way I use AI for enterprise, to be perfectly honest with you, like I actually have I can't show you this. I have I technically have a Lucid one that technically talks about that, but I can't show you, unfortunately, for NDA reasons. But I would do a BPMN for it, because I'm a, like, as you can see, I'm a picture person. I take a step back and I look at all the processes in terms of who actually deals with compliance, what departments, who are the people, is there any outsiders, what are the boxes that's basically, there's no negotiation, there's no room for negotiation at all. So if they can't do co-work, they can't do Claude, okay, well then what of these processes that I've put, where can we add Claude? Where can we add AI? Where can we like kind of, because at the end of the day, if they can't use it, I can't use it, and that's just the
Some enterprises are more conservative conservative, some less
Yeah.
conservative, and even in our, I mean, we're a data security company, so
That's
obviously
gonna be a
we're
conservative.
building products to solve these problems. So as ourselves, I know that I had to ask our CIO if I can connect Notion to Claude. So
Yeah.
he was like, I don't know. He gave a yes.
Mm.
Because for me, etc., etc. So we do use Cowork, for example.
Yeah, you do.
We do use Cowork. We do use most of the tools. Obviously, these tools have compliance themselves.
Yeah.
They're enterprise tiers. So it depended on how conservative are
Yeah.
the CISOs and like security departments of
Yeah.
these
I
enterprises.
think it's like giving a tool like a work to company that's like security is the essence. It's easier because people are more aware of the danger.
No, have you heard the CISO of the U.S. government? They allowed him to use separate ChatGPT, and he uploaded some sensitive documents.
Oh wow.
So no.
No.
Sorry to.
I would say for another thing too, like especially for banks, for example, I know what they do. Like one of the compliance thing is they don't use AI in customer facing, and they roll out AI only certain departments, for example. So that's a way to control it. Like as an internal thing, like I mentioned, you don't want to upload things on ChatGPT,
Yeah.
unfortunately.
That's very
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, it really is about, for me, like taking a step back, figuring out what is allowed and what's not, and slowly massaging the ones that you're allowed to kind of work with and introducing it slowly and seeing like, hey, see, it's working, can we expand? And because that's just, unfortunately, just how it works, especially with enterprises and huge companies.
There are very like different, environments. There are like super conservative.
Yeah.
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 But that's why like a lot of security tools being built. We're building also something like this
Yeah.
that supports like synthesize and clean data and allow, anyways, to use AI. And that's why there's a lot of security tools that are being built, and AI security is a real thing to enable these highly compliant industries to use these tools. So it's a process.
It's a process, yeah.
It's a process.
Yeah.
I mean, most people don't even, I don't even know how it is now for the bigger companies, how they're allowing some like some product managers are having a tough time, like there's so many new tools every day. There's just new design tools, for example, that Claude got. I created Claude Design. I just got Claude Design, which is this one here.
Yeah, it's pretty, yeah.
That was today.
Yeah, I did it as well. Yeah,
And
by the way, yes, this is real. This is real.
that's very unfortunate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. People are people. People make mistakes. And,
Yeah. But yeah. Any other questions? Or I kind of really enjoy being in the team, like people of like product managers who are really like, experienced and stuff. Yeah. How is it? Like, I would love to know, how is it for you? Like, how is working with AI now in your industry? Or like,
It's for me. It's like I'm not a product manager in occupation. I'm a co-founder, but in practice I'm doing a lot of product management.
yeah,
Or chief architect. I feel that for product management, although it's a lot of chaos, it's actually heaven because you can do so many things with these tools that
Yeah.
took you ages to create.
yeah,
Like all the documents, the roadmaps, the
Yeah.
thinking, the brainstorming, the research, the data
Yeah.
analysis. It's kind of heaven if you know how to do it.
that's true. Yeah.
It's just so helpful. I would not afraid. I think that's the era of product management because our companies implement that, talking to other companies to do AI adoption. And I think that every team member in a company needs actually product management skills because they need to create workflows with AI. They have no product management skills.
Really?
So a lot of these skills that we have embedded as product
Because even a developer needs to know how to break
Right.
user epics into
That's
user
true,
stories,
yeah.
how to
And yeah, a lot of these skills are needed. So I think it would be a great opportunity if they would be adopted.
Yeah. That's good to hear. I'm happy that the more established product managers, they're using AI really well. I think there's so much fear mongering amongst especially the more junior ones. Also, like, I mean, my friends, not so much Canada, but my friends are recruiter in the States, for example. They're laying off so many product managers, and it's really insane now. They're adding a couple of new things in terms of in terms of how they score people to get laid off and such, including like followers on like social media and like, right? It makes no sense, but apparently that's being used as one of the ways to score them now.
influencer now to keep my job.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I think it will be only temporary because the market is very chaotic now.
Mm-hmm.
And over time, everything is new, everything is unknown in a
Yeah.
sense, but it will just needs to be stabilized,
Yeah.
stable later, and people will get the sense.
I agree. We've been post, .com. Everyone think, oh, the internet will. It's the same
There's
thing.
a couple of errors like this.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was like crazy, and then
Like
of course you have to equip yourself with all the tools, and you have to be knowledgeable
Yeah.
and be adaptive. But I think product management will have a lot of plates and a lot of work. Eventually, you can adapt.
That's good. Yeah, I'm happy to hear that's
No,
still.
I agree.
Yeah.
Same with UX design, by the way.
Yeah.
I'm also saying.
UX design is a huge, big.
But as I joined the company I work right now, they're like, you're gonna build our UI because like the platform on top of the engine. Like, cool, but I'm not a UX designer. Oh, it's okay. I'm gonna design something. Like, guys, I vibe coded a demo for a conference, but now we hired a UX designer. Obviously, she roasted my design.
Yeah.
And she is now rebuilding the entire UX of the data-heavy products. Also for UX designers, don't worry.
Also,
That's exactly my question as well. Like, how is it the industry is trying to drill down so many roles into one where you want the product manager to be the builder? That's what I'm
Yeah.
seeing today. So in that case, like, yeah, we could do quick mock-ups for certain things, but you cannot have a UI UX designer or expertise as from the
No.
product manager.
Or even a builder. Yes, you can build a rich mockup.
Yeah.
But to bring it to production and to use it with millions of users or petabytes of data,
No.
it's a skill set. Or
Yeah.
even time. I mean, even you as an infrastructure engineer, once you become product, you won't have time to sit and build
No.
the actual, back end to be efficient. It's a full-time job.
But you can test.
You can test quickly.
You can test quickly. You can build like
Yeah, a
build
beta.
So you
Yeah,
still
yeah,
need
yeah.
back-end
Yeah.
developers, back-end developers. We still need back DevOps.
Yeah, we still. I totally agree. We still need better. I was when one of my clients, I was able to build up to a beta to test 2,000 users, and once they were like, "Oh, let's make money," I was like, "No, no, 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 no." Now we need. Now you need to pay the developers. But saying that, I totally agree. That Coinbase, I think, is the one that was pretty infamous for consolidating PM roles into builders. They eliminated they kind of eliminated a certain PM role and made it just an actual, like they want to be a builder and doing this new hybrid role. And that's why I wanted to ask people here as well. It's like, what's your experience so far?
I think product manager was the most, how do you say, diverse role in every company. Every company has a different PM, right?
Yeah.
So it's really depending on the company and not the role. Some of them are doing more research, some of them are doing more kind of roadmaps. It's really depending. So yeah, it's not like developer. Developer is very determined role.
Yeah.
But PM is very diverse.
That's exactly why I really liked your first slide. Like you showed
This one?
different kinds of things, right? Yeah. I mean, if you expect one person to do everything, then it's not going to work the longer. So
You do a little bit of everything.
You
Some
do.
things fall off the table and that's okay. That's a reality.
I have one quick
Yeah.
question one time. About the screen freeze that you mentioned. Do you know the criteria that is used to check if it is in danger, if it's going well? Like you mentioned the number
Side.
of lines, for example. I don't know if there is any other criteria that it uses to establish if it's going okay. It was well determined. Do you know?
For cursor itself,
Yes.
or so right now, right now you just kind of check. So whatever is in here, of course, this is just a demo, but the more detail that you add here, and you add more definition of done. Yeah, so if you put a definition of done or acceptance criteria actually is a better one. If you can put acceptance criteria and definition of done, technically they can check that as well and see if what, and at least suggest to you what type of features or how of what, if you should test certain ways of what type of maybe use case or potential bugs